This is my Rancher Nikki vlog, episode 2, a day on the ranch in spring. So I've been really struggling with figuring out a topic that people might actually be interested in, but people are often asking me what I do on the ranch, like what does a typical day on the ranch look like. So I thought today would be a great day for me to tell you what I did, because it really kind of covers what you actually do on a ranch. So we live on a cattle ranch, and we have cows and horses, and I'm not going to get into all the details of how our particular ranch works, but I'm just going to kind of go over the basics. So in winter, when there's snow on the ground, or when there's not grass, which is true right now, no snow but there's no grass either, we have to feed the cattle. And I'm actually trying to get some editing software so that I can show you what that looks like, but for now I'm just going to have to describe it. We have a big tractor, we have this big thing we pull behind it called a feeder, and our particular bales are about 1,400 pounds, and they're like big cylinder shaped, so big fatty cylinders. And you pick up the, and you put them in the back of the feeder, and then you kind of have to feed them out. So that's what we do every day, all through winter. And today is spring, so we're still doing that, but we're starting to also prepare for summer. So my husband and I, 8 o'clock like always, get in the truck. We live on one side of the ranch, and we drive to the other side of the ranch, which is where the main ranch is with the shop and all that. So we get into the tractor, we go, and we feed the cows who are pregnant in one field. Then we feed our big herd of horses, and one of the horses is kind of walking a little stiff, and we've been watching him for a while. And then we come back and we feed the calves, which are in front of the main ranch. And we feed in that field, but the calves are actually in the corral where, we would put our horses and stuff when we're going to go riding. So the ranch manager and his wife, who live there and who run the ranch, told us that the neighbor who owns the calves is going to come over and delouse them. So they need a little something, a little medication they're going to put in the skin just to help them with, bugs and stuff. So we're waiting for him, and he's also going to come and pick up the horse that's walking a little stiff. So while we're waiting, we're gonna put the rake on the other tractor. So we get the other tractor out, we go out into the field where the rake is, and it's just kind of like a garden rake. So it has these big tines like that, and they're about, I don't know, 8 feet long. And what you do is you hook it up to the tractor, and then you drag the fields. And what that means is when the cows and the horses are out in these fields in winter, you get all these big piles of manure all over the place. And then the bales are wrapped with this biodegradable twine that we actually cut and pull off before we put them in the feeder. But you always miss some. Sometimes they're frozen solid with ice. Sometimes they're just small and you can't get them. And they do break down, but it takes years. So you take the tractor with the rake and you drag these fields, and it breaks up the manure clods, and it picks up the string, and it makes the fields look really nice. So, and it prepares them for haying season. So we're getting that all ready, and just as we're starting to get that ready, the neighbor shows up with his trailer. So we're going to go help him delouse these cattle. So we have a chute system which has kind of like a pen, which leads to a slightly smaller pen, which leads to a slightly smaller pen, and then an alleyway which leads to a head gate that you can close. So we have to feed him through, so we kind of go up behind him, and you kind of go, hup, hup, and you're real gentle, because you don't want to get them all riled up. You get them riled up, they're going to hurt someone, they're going to start kicking. So you try to just sort of gently urge them through. And you get about 6 into the alley, and then you put a pole through so they can't back out, and then he goes along and he has this little, like, it looks like kind of a gun, but it's just a syringe, and they set it, and when you squeeze it, a certain amount comes out, and he just puts it along their back, and then you open up the head gate, and then you kind of, hoop, hoop, come on, come on, come on, you kind of shoo them out. And we do that until all of them have their medicine, and then once they've all got their medicine, we open up the gate, and we kind of hoop, 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 and they all run out into the field where their hay is, and they're happy as can be, and we close all the gates and stuff. And as he's getting ready to go, we go, hey, your tire's flat. So somewhere between his ranch and our ranch, he got a flat tire. So we go into the concrete and we pull off the old tire, and we have dirt roads with huge potholes and stuff. So we chip off the dirt and put the spare tire on, and, crack a joke about, well, we'll send you the bill. And we send him on his way. He's going to go pick up the horse. It's just these big open fields. He's just a little stiff, and he's older, so it just makes sense that we that he go home to a corral where he'll be more comfortable. So we send him on that way, and then we got to finish up with the tractor. So we look over the tractor, and the rake, 2 of the tines are broke. So we loosen everything up and we pull out the broken parts and we put the new ones in and we tighten everything back up. And then the new tines are just a shade longer, so they get out the torch and they cut those off and, you know, make sure everything's doing good, check it over, make sure all the equipment's right. And somewhere in this morning, my dad has come down in his Jeep. So my parents actually live on a cabin up on a hill, and I never really gave it much thought when I was a kid, but the road up to their cabin is like a dirt road, like maybe, I don't know, 10 feet wide, cut into the side of the hill. So it's actually pretty sketchy. I never think of it as being dangerous, but sometimes people are surprised. But it gets so dirty. Their Jeep, I mean, the roof is covered in mud. Everything's covered in mud. So it's a bright day. So we figure, well, now's a good day to, you know, to take care of the Jeep. So we get out the pressure washer and we get out the, you know, the hose, and we hose it off. We have to do it like 3 or 4 times because it's just caked everywhere. And when we're all done with that, it's been, you know, and then while we're at it, we do the 4-wheeler and we do a little of this and we put away all the tools. And that was our morning, and that was about 4 hours. And the reason why I think it's a good example of a day on the ranch is it shows a lot of what we do. You know, the first is you take care of animals. Every day we take care of the animals in some form or another. So in winter, we feed them. Doesn't matter how we feel, gotta feed the animals. So you get out and you feed them. And then you take care of them if anyone's hurt. If anyone's hurt or needs medicine or anything like that, you do that. So not a problem. So today you know, the horse was walking a little stiff, so we loaded him up and put him someplace he'd be more comfortable. The calves needed to deal with the lice, so you put the stuff on them, you know, and you send them on your way. You also have to constantly do maintenance. Ranches have a ton of equipment. I mean, there's so much stuff, and there's houses, and there's, you know, barns and stuff like that. So we're constantly maintaining equipment, and it's not just so that it looks nice. It's also a maintenance thing. So the Jeep was getting all this dirt up and everything, and we had to clean it out so that it wouldn't damage it. The tractors in summer, when it's dry, you have to blow them out with air hoses, and if you don't, they can actually catch on fire because of all that dry material. And you've got to constantly grease them, and you've got to check this and that. So maintenance is something we're always doing, and we are constantly fixing things that are broken. So like the rake being broken or the flat tire, that's just something you do. So that is a pretty good example of the variety of work. And most of this stuff, some of this stuff I've done once a year, some of this stuff we do every day, and some of this stuff we'll do once every 10 years. So I'm glad you could join me on my day in the ranch.